Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a good break and good lunch that everyone ate. To get us up and running after lunch, I know probably most of you would like to sleep now, but that's not possible. We didn't plan that. The next person coming on, he said that he's very happy to join and to speak because he thinks of this as a vacation to get a bit of rest. Because he just became the second-time father. So he said he's willing to come to get a rest. Yep. We talked about breaking into US. We know that's an issue, but one of the markets that especially the companies from the region would like to break into is DACH. And that's also not going very easily. So I would like to welcome to the stage Michael, who will tell us a bit more about how to break into DACH.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Igor. What a day today. I hope you also had a good lunch and had some really good chats with other people in this vacation. And also to activate you all after lunch, I have one little exercise for you where I would love to have your activity a little bit. Just a little thing. Please raise your left hand. The other left hand? Yeah, okay. First question. If you say yes to that question, keep your hand up. If no, bring it down. So are you selling to a B2B SaaS solution? Still a lot of up. You're selling into DACH already or are planning to expand in that market? Okay. Do you see challenges in it and also like cultural differences that are different to other European areas? Also still some hands up. And last but not least, to break it down, you want to take down your hand? Of course. Let's bring it on. So basically the DACH market is quite a big market and there is a lot of reasons to open up the DACH market. And there's a few things, of course, that are special on people from the DACH area, a few things that are really there why the people are coming in, but not only about those kind of topics, but actually also the DACH area in total has the highest GDP in Europe. And there is a lot of investment going into a lot of different industries. And one thing that is quite special on the DACH market is so-called the German Mittelstand. And those companies are really, really strong in their specific area. They're hidden champions. They're not located in those huge centers, pretty much in Berlin, Munich, or some other big cities, but actually are quite local in villages. Nobody knows them, basically, but they have like their market leader in their area, in their segment, and those are really the ones which you want to approach. A lot of people just don't know how to get them and don't even know about their existence. There is also a really low level of digitalization. It is, on the one hand side, really challenging to get to know the people and open up the market for them, but at the same time, it's also quite challenging to bring in new ideas. On the flip side of it, if you are able to bring value to that company, they are investing into those technologies. A lot of things are not working out quite well. A lot of stuff is still on paper. Processes are not digitized. We heard the first presentation today that the US is like 10, 20 years ahead of us. And this is also happening to Germany. Like there's a lot of stuff that is actually not working out quite well. So a big chance for us to open up this market in the new business. Also, one thing that I realized myself over the last years is that German-speaking people a lot of times also commit to longer relationships with their partners. So a lot of times if you selling a contract, you are able to sell 1 year, 2 year, 3 year deals basically with customers, which is something that in the US a lot of times doesn't work because they actually want to have monthly payments, monthly contract. They want to like be able to get rid of the partner. And this is also something to just be aware of. And then last but not least, there is a strong regulatory environment in that area. So a lot of things are just different. There is a lot of data protection issues companies have entering that market. There is also like compliance topics that I'm also going to bring up in a few minutes that are quite important to keep in mind if you want to enter there, to be prepared basically. Just a few words about myself, my background. Before Dealfront is pretty much a merged company from two companies called Ecobot and Leadfeeder. I was working at Ecobot back then, entered as a sales rep, as a working student around like 2017, and were able and fortunate to pretty much like grow that company and grow with that company to around like 2,000 customers and around 12 million ARR without any external funding, so pretty much we grow ourselves. And I get a lot of times the question like, why are you actually still staying in that company for 10 years? Because like the transition is like a lot of times like change your job after 2-3 years to get developments. And what I found quite interesting is in that one company, I actually moved from one area like media monitoring where we're talking to agencies and press companies, going into this whole new space of sales intelligence, which like opened up a totally new market for us. There was a merger, as I said, 2022. Not only we merged two companies, but also we get an investment from the US PE firm around 180 million. So now we have actually the strength basically to grow further in the European and the US market. And also one thing that I'm happy to discuss afterwards, I'm also staying today and tomorrow, we also have like two different sales motions in place at Dealfront. On the one hand side, legacy Ecobot has this sales-led growth approach. Basically, you go on the website, you ask for pricing, you ask for a demo, and you always need to talk to somebody from sales to buy something. Leadfeeder is working totally differently. Leadfeeder product basically are selling product-led. You try it out, you buy it yourself, you get your credit card data, and then you're good. And basically what Dealfront does is we find target accounts that are having the highest probability of you closing them and pretty much like for them buying. And as Igor said, like my newest project, and which costs me a lot of time, is my new kid, basically. So this is why like also I'm really happy to be here and with you guys to get a bit of a break and to deliver a bit of value. Hopefully, there are a few bits that you can take out of that presentation to use. I'm not only focusing on strategic things, but I also talked to my sales reps and wanted to get some more tactical things that you can actually use directly inside of your business. So coming to the agenda, it's quite short. So just a few common mistakes companies are doing who want to enter the DACH market, how we are doing it right now for multiple years quite successfully. And I also have a special offer for you guys if you want to enter that market. So first of all, let's take some common mistakes. And we had talk about 5 do's and don'ts. I extended it a little bit. We're going to talk about 5 areas. But before starting with it, I want to make a little disclosure. Like, it's really tough to talk about go-to-market, basically, and a lot of things that I'm not going to cover in the next 20 minutes is basically what companies need to fix originally. It doesn't matter which market you're going into, right? You need to have a product market fit. The tool needs to work. You need to have a message market fit, basically. I'm not going to cover those kind of things because it's nothing like pretty much like special about the DACH market. And those things I'm going to talk with you about is based on a lot of experience over the last years from our reps, but also from myself, basically, and a lot of conversation with customers where they're struggling in some of their experiences. So those 5 areas I'm going to talk about is pretty much prospecting and the outreach. We heard already multiple presentations about trust building inside of a sales process, some regulatory and compliance topics that we're going to discuss, and proposals and partners of influence to enter this market. So first of all, in the prospecting and outreach side, one thing that I heard multiple conversations already, and we just had that with Igor right now. First point, a lot of people don't see the difference between the approach of a formal and informal way. In Germany, and depending again, if you're going to a startup or like companies of which scale-ups basically, a lot of times like you have young people in there and you can of course talk like with an informal way. If you're targeting more traditional companies, you need to like use the last name to be more formal, be more like appealing to them. It just builds trust and it like shows you that you're more professional and know the market. Second thing is a lot of people don't see the value in like buying in an experienced person, a native speaker from that market, and they actually approach customers in English. And this is also one thing, if you want to approach a DACH market, I would always recommend get somebody who knows the market, who speaks the language natively, because like it's quite difficult to enter it in English. Also, one thing that is like pretty much coming up with data vendors, basically, they sell you data, they sell you contacts, phone numbers, direct dials. But also, specifically in Germany, a lot of times when you call them up, they always ask you basically where you got my number from. Because those vendors are selling data from not really compliant databases. They scrape signatures and things like that. And you're not able to communicate on it. And then we get to the point, regulatory and compliance, that this is actually something of risk for you, for your business, if you want to enter that market. Then also like this spray and pray approach. We're going to have an example later on with a machinery customer of us who did that differently prior and then is doing it differently now. So pretty much like not only focusing on the basics on the ICP, not only identifying the total addressable market, but actually drilling it down to the real relevant customers inside of it. And then last but not least, really having a personalized outreach based on intent. So if somebody not only like talks to you and asks for a pricing or a demo, but actually things like something happened in that company. So they go onto an event, they have a change inside of their management, they got an investment, they open up a new headquarter or something else. Things that you can actually use inside of your outreach, as well as, for example, like people are visiting your website, for example, also one thing that you can use. By the way, I'll be sharing that slide deck afterwards, so if you want to have that data, of course. Coming into the trust building part. One thing that is quite critical, not only speaking to the people in the same language, but also a lot of processes are actually standardized and a lot of things are in German. So you should have everything ready. Not only like your proposals, your website and other things, but actually if you want to do it right, and not only like with one foot into the water, but actually want to go in there, you should have all the relevant documentations in German as well. Of course, I'm talking and like originating from the new business side, and you want to win the customer, you want to pretty much have a compelling offer there, but also a lot of times that is actually reducing the risk. And German people or German-speaking people is a lot of times like really risk-averse. You want and need to talk about the follow-up processes. Basically, talking about what does a CS look like, what does support look like. Also here, if you hire somebody and if you have no one yet, have this person do the full cycle sales. Don't hire an SDR opening up conversations, but actually hire somebody who is able to open up, close, and then like do the customer success at first hand. Prepare some success stories for it. So it's important. It also builds up trust if you have basically some success stories already from German-speaking customers, basically from the industry. I know it's hard at the beginning if you don't have anything, and you basically are need to follow up on customers who could be your ideal customer. If you want, give it out for free, get the reference statement, go into the network, so try to basically like open up this market like this. One thing, and this also comes together with this one slide where I was talking about this map of Germany, the German buying process and the tech that they use for selling, for marketing, is not really, let's say, on a high level. And you can really convince people about your product, your solution, if you're leveraging new technology that makes it easier for them to buy. Like, for example, digital sales rooms, getting people inside of like one digital sales room, add all your information in there, add your call recordings in there, add some subscription in there, like help the champion basically sell it internally. Something which is quite easily to do. It doesn't cost too much, in particular if you're having a small company basically, you don't need to pay a lot for the licenses, but this will really help you to differentiate yourself from other competitors out there. And then last but not least, also a cultural thing. Try not to push too much for the close, because a lot of times we see as well companies who are doing business in the US, and there is such as a cultural difference, right? If you go in there and just say, okay, good, I'm the best, those are the logos, this is what we do, and it's gonna be quite hard and like too pushy a lot of times. So if you have somebody experienced in sales, they will hopefully not be too pushy in this case and like leverage those relationships. Regulatory and compliance, and this is also something that Germany basically, specifically is known for. And this is like one big difference compared to other companies. We don't only have GDPR, which is called in Germany DSGVO, but there is also an area which is called e-privacy, which is pretty much in Germany called UWG. DSGVO or GDPR is there for basically how you treat the data. Are you updating it? How are you sourcing it? How are you processing it? This is like basically what's known. But what you have as well in the DACH region is how do you reach out to those customers? Just an easy example, you can call up people, but you're not allowed to email them. So there is high sues basically that can happen based on that if you don't follow up, because again, it needs to be compliant in this case. So I really encourage you to be proactive in that area. Like try to get some certificates, try to pretty much make it work for you. Like there's ISO certificates, there is like GDPR compliance certificates, and so on, to be a valid partner who is able to do business with. And then every country as well has different nuances. And to make it easier for you, again, I don't want to go too far into this legal topic basically, but we have, I don't know if this is like too small for that slide here, but we have a really nice white paper covering all of that, as well as a checklist if you want to look for a new provider, what is important for this DACH area. Looking into proposals, this is something that I see a lot of times as well, buying solutions, buying products from, for example, US companies. They focus basically after doing a presentation, they create like a proposal of like a one-pager or an Excel sheet where you can like DocuSign something. German people think differently. They want to have more detail. They're more tech savvy. They want to have the understanding on what's going on. So I would really encourage you to detail out what you have to offer to each option for them to be able to sell it better, because the question will come up and you will need to follow up on that. So we optimized our own offering basically also on this. So you see a longer PDF, but it's quite detailed. One thing that has happened as well is giving out enormous discounts. And I was talking about that beforehand, right? If you want to get the first success story, if you want to have the first win basically that you can use as a reference, it's of course good to give something out for free or with a big discount. But what I really would encourage you to do is not go too far on that, because also SaaS companies, SaaS businesses internationally, they have the tendency on giving really high discounts. And we have that conversation with multiple companies that are our customers now, where they received an offer from an international company going down with 50%, 75%, and they just realized basically like, this is not really like a nice way to do business. And sometimes it's even like if a company was doing business beforehand with them, and if they heard our name, they dropped their price by 50 or 75%. And the customers, like one of our customers is like Deutsche Telekom, for example. This champion or this decision maker inside of that company, what he actually did is like, they think basically, well, we paid beforehand like for 2 or 3 years like the full price, and now like you want to drop that price to 75%, like what the hell is going on? Like I don't want to do business with you anymore. So I would always encourage you to analyze the prices, check out pretty much like what prices make the most sense, and then try to stick to it. Sell the value out of it, and be present with your selling motion. Adding new steps is also like the combination between the CS and support side. So adding new steps to the proposal is also quite important for them to do the internal selling. You want to reduce the risk and pretty much show the customer what they are able to purchase afterwards. And then one thing in particular, also going into like bigger companies, we're not basically selling primarily on enterprises. Our focus basically is from small and medium-sized businesses, like between 50 and let's say like 500 employees. And a majority of our customers also like having this area as a target group. And the more also with the current time, everybody is focusing on efficiency, effectiveness. You really need to create a compelling proposal with an ROI calculation to help the customer understand the real value and how fast can they actually get their money back from your investment. And this is just a personal thing. I just think this is really, really important, not only if you go to DACH, but like track those proposals. Make sure you know exactly what is viewed, what is clicked, when was it clicked, We had a really good experience with that because we just like call up the customer, if it's in regular business times, of course, and open up the conversation. So also here, if they're not too tech savvy, they will be quite impressed if you do that. And last but not least, partners and influencers. We have a lot of associations in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. For every niche, for every industry, there are like events like this, for example. There are also like online associations which you can be part of. Basically, you want to get the foot into the DACH market. I would always recommend try to do that with like a piggyback approach. So talk to people who can help you to build out your brand. Do, again, some webinars, some podcasts that are targeting exactly your target market. That really helped for us, and also you're able to pretty much create ads on those podcasts, on those webinars, and host those events, basically. This will pay off and like pay off for your go-to-market effort. Also, as we're doing it here, after Corona, people are basically, they don't want to be on webinars all the time. They don't want to be on podcasts all the time and like review stuff online. Like if you want to go to DACH, use the events. I know it has to do with travel, it has to do with some investment, but go to events like this, go to those associations, talk to people, shake some hands, because it's also something that is trust building and not just a company that is out there online, but you show face basically. And then last but not least also, use referral programs to help you to build out your brand inside of those areas basically, and share some commission, of course, like you have less bottom line, but it helps you basically to take the first step into this market. Those are the common mistakes or the common areas where I think like those are quite tactical, which you can use basically to improve. What do we do differently? And I don't want to cover all of them, but like, if you take a look at the customer awareness of your product, of your solution, of basically the market that you're in, 80% of those customers are rather not aware or are not product aware. So basically, they don't want to buy, they don't have a problem, they pretty much don't see a value in it right now. What a lot of companies focus on basically is who is visiting my website actually already decided to go with me. Usually companies that are actually had experience with you already that want to buy your solution. And what is missed a lot of times are those two areas. On the one hand side, like to be solution aware. So depending, like they raise their hand, they're coming up to your website, they're asking for a pricing, they're asking for a webinar or something. This is like where you also can, of course, gain some momentum, gain some new prospects. But what is missed a lot of times is this urgency aware. So customer understood he has a problem. They understood like this is actually not bearable. They need to find a solution, and they're looking for it. They're not looking for it only on your website, but actually evaluating companies on G2, on Trust Radius, and other areas. And they then maybe visit your website, but don't leave anything on your website. And this is pretty much like what we call intent, right? So they're visiting your website, they're having an idea, but you want actually to capture that information, understand which company was it actually, and who most probably was the one looking for it. So intent data, for the people that don't know what it is, basically it's identifying buyer intention by tracking web users' behavior. And there will be some connections to exactly that page before. So there's third party, second party, and first party intent. So on the third party level, it's basically you have publisher networks which are monitoring your behavior online, where you can actually see, like if you're looking for a security webinar, if you're looking for specific comparisons, for example, you're looking into that data basically and get the information, okay, this company went to this webinar, they're looking for this and this information, so they sense the intent. It has nothing to do with you directly, you don't own that data, those companies owning that data. Second party intent is again page reviews, where you can also have a conversation with G2 or Capterra or other companies, where they can actually send you the information, okay, this one company, because they're logged in, for example, they looked into that category you're working in already, and they're evaluating most probably, and they can like share that information with you. And what we're focusing also heavily is the first party intent, because it's proprietary data of you. people that are actually talking to you, they're going to a webinar, they're going to an event of you, they interact with your social accounts, they read your webinar, your newsletters basically, but also having that intention of who visited my website basically. The problem with this is that the companies actually don't know how to use it in a really effective and also efficient way, right? So the name of the game right now is efficiency and effectiveness. And I want to just give you an example like how we do it, basically on the data side. So we have like different types of silos and different type of data inside of our platform. So we have trade register information from, for example, the DACH area, but also a lot of other areas in the Nordics and UK and so on. So it's like real data on commercial register level. Not only the brand, but actually the company behind that. We monitor those websites of those companies, those social accounts. We get the financial data from those companies to just understand like how valid is that information for you for the filtering. We track the information based on IP data. So we reveal the location. It's like a understanding basically like who from which IP address actually visited your website. Look into job listings, and there's also like those news and social media portals to just understand and like enrich the database. And what happens with that, if you take a look like here in the top right, if you start here basically, the name of the game is like you need to identify your total addressable market, right? And then to identify also within that market who is actually your ideal customer profile and which person you want to talk to who is most like leading you to success. If you're doing it, and a lot of companies actually stop here and giving out those leads to the sales team and just saying, okay, good, those 5,000, 10,000 companies are in our market, sales start approaching them. And then with these new tools, AI tools, ChatGPT, cadencing tools, and all of that, honestly, I'm personally bombarded with it. I bet some of you as well. And a lot of our customers are having the same issue. And the problem with that is that even though maybe you have a really good messaging, you get lost in a lot of really bad messaging where the recipient actually stopped listening to it anymore. So what we do basically here is we select the ICP, we select the persona, and we do some display ads on exactly those companies. If you say like those 5 or 10,000 companies, we actually target those and show our ads on LinkedIn, but also a lot of other areas with those display ads. Then we track back like which of those companies actually come to your website and raise their hand or even don't raise their hand, right? So the ones which just visited. If you have seen that intent and those companies are from your ICP, this is the moment to give that lead to your sales team, because this is the highest chance of your sales team to reach out and have success. Interested right now, looking into your website, and if you have like automations and CRM integrations and others in place, your sales reps gets like immediately, like 1 or 2 minutes afterwards, gets a ping in Slack or any other tool that you use basically and can reach out. And then you monitor those triggers while doing the sale. So not only like you track the proposals when somebody clicks or reviews your proposal, but actually what's happening within that customer during the sales cycle. And if stuff happens here, you can also reach out. And last but not least, we scale that by identifying our customers that are actually meeting our ICP and also the best fitting customers where we have the most fun, where we can bring the most value. We scale it with machine learning based on analysis of our own data basically, and create out of like 1 or like let's say 5 customers, see the similarities and show similar companies for it. And with that, basically, what you can do is you can, on the one hand side, grow inside of that market. You can build out a brand, because nobody likes to be sold, but actually what the people like is if you have a solution, a relevant solution at the right time, they like to be approached in that specific moment. But it's really, really difficult to meet exactly that expectation, have the right timing. And then like it just improves your brand. I see it a lot of times that sales reps, also a lot of times young sales reps, SDRs, reaching out heavily on LinkedIn or per email, for example, they're not only breaking the brand for your company, but they're also breaking their brand for themselves, basically. They get blocked. You get like really like not a good reputation here. So the job here is like not to go too broad, but focus on the relevance. And one example, as I mentioned before, like I was around 2.5 months ago, I visited one of our customers from the machinery industry that are also selling to the machinery industry. So the basic filtering is quite simple. They sell to DACH, they want to have machinery industry of that company size and a certain revenue. And what they usually do is like they take that and give it to sales, as I mentioned before. But if you ask that question again, like who of those X amount of companies are actually the ones which are relevant to you? And it's quite simple. For them, it's only relevant if they have like certain technologies in use. Not only machinery, but actually if they do 3D printing or like laser welding, whatever it can be. Based on web monitoring, you can actually track that down and reduce the amount of leads. Because this is the goal. If you have limited resources, you want to be as specific as possible. Then you have like this area. And then, oh, what happened? There you go. Okay. Third level, basically, and now it comes to the triggers. If you identified those companies in level 2, you want to identify, are they visiting your website? Do they go in any kind of interaction? Or what happens within that company that is a trigger for you to reach out? So basically, the sales team with those limited time resources focuses only on this third level. What marketing needs to do, basically, is they need to create demand for those second-level companies who are actually your ideal customers. And with that, you have, like, with the reduced resources, have a good way to win in that market. Basically, the game has changed. And this picture I usually show not only here in that presentation, but a lot of times also within presentations inside of the DACH market. The game has changed. We need to adapt and accept that there are things happening inside of that market. Information is everywhere, so everybody has access to a lot of data, but intent is the one which is actually helping you out to be different than other providers within your competition. And for that, coming to the last point with a special offer, I didn't want to go away without like giving you anything. Basically, what I would invite you to do is to check out for your specific market, for your specific industry, for your specific ICP, if there is any data that can help you to win business. All for free, you can check it out, you can have a feasibility test basically, get 100 free GDPR compliant leads for yourself, for your market. Check out this web visiting tool, Lead Feeder, to understand basically who is visiting your website to see the value out of it. And there is one more, like the free ebook, How to Go to Market. I think it's like around 45 pages or so, going really into detail, also looking at basically the legal regulations inside of each market that can help you with it. If you want that, I just added a QR code. Contact me in LinkedIn, just write me a quick message. I send you everything over and we're good. Okay? With that being said, I thank you very much joining this presentation. And I have one last ask, because my wife is a lot of times like asking, what the hell are you doing in those kind of events? I would love to make one quick photo. Would it be okay for you guys from the front? All right. With the lights, there you go. One quick up, there you go. Thanks. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael.
On time?
You're very on time. Do we have any questions for Michael?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, my question is pretty much, what is the use or what kind of significance does it hold for a sales rep to be a native German speaker if the tool isn't in German itself, if it doesn't have that option?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, if you are approaching customers, basically, like the first step, if you're talking to the first person, you're not only talking to the user or decision maker, right? It depends on who you talk to, basically. If you are only like not localizing the software, then of course, like if you're selling to English-speaking people and the software is not in German in this case, then it's pretty much hard. Then you can like continue with it, but you will need to understand like how you can narrow down the market for the companies who are only like doing business in English. I would say. But this is a good point. Like if you're only doing it, we did that, for example, with go-to-market in France, right? We had quite a challenge because French is even harder to enter because they pretty much don't, like even though they speak English, they don't want to speak English. And we had quite a challenge because also here the tool was in English. We approached also people in French. We had a French speaker in there. And it was a challenge. It was a challenge. But it needs to be like a suite. Like stuff needs to come together if you want to enter that market with the German speakers. Yeah.
I have one, if I may. You mentioned the bringing someone on the team that speaks German. Do you see a difference if it's, let's say, it's a Croatian person speaking really good German, or do you think it's better to really find someone local?
Difficult question, depending on how good the people speak. I would like if the people speak normal German, it's all fine. Like I don't want to like discriminate stuff. Like this is not the idea behind that. And if this person like lives and breathes in Germany, has maybe the network which can help him, has the industry knowledge, like those kind of things are just important. So it's not only about the language, but of course, if you reach out in the same language, it's just easier for you to win the people.
Makes sense. Do we have any more questions for Michael? Feel free to catch him up. He's here resting for the next 2 days. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.